why did Conrad make this trade to begin with? Well, he said he addressed it in his little presser after the game that one of the things he wanted to reward the group for the work they've done. I look at what do we lose in Pelletier as the potential of the player? Because here's the thing. I mean, whenever you have a trade like this, there's always hype. There's always hype on these new guys.
Yeah.
Everybody's hyping them up, but you don't know. Remember when we just dealt with this with Huberdeau, dude. So, we get Farabee and Frost back in the trade, and the way that I see this is like, if you look at this, and I mean, look, it's been the Dustin Wolf show. That's the biggest reason why we're in a playoff spot currently. But you're in a playoff hunt. You're in a legit wild card race. You're now 1 point back of LA. I'm not sure if they've played yet today, but you're 1 point back of LA. You're 5 points back of Colorado with 3 games in hand. You're 1 point up on Vancouver, I think, with a game in hand. So by all intents and purposes, you have a shot at making the playoffs this season in what? Year 1 of a rebuild with Dustin Wolf playing out of his fucking mind. You can't score goals. So, looking at Connie, I think he's addressing 3 needs in 1 here. He's addressing first and foremost this centerman position that there's some history of Frost. He was trying to get Frost.
Yeah, there's been kind of like rumblings that he's been, since September, even maybe dating back to last year, he's kind of been on his list.
There's been more than 1 or 2 reports this season that Connie is still looking for a centerman. He wanted a right shot guy, but this is a left shot guy. So I think that's part 1 by what Connie's intentions here is. Part 2 is, the overall direction of the team, which to me, thank God he addressed this. Thank God he talked about this. He wasn't going to go out and do anything that didn't make sense for the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So not only is he addressing needs for this season, but he's addressing needs for the upcoming seasons as well. And then obviously, part 3 is how can we get better this year right now to help these guys that are, in the battle that they are, which is in a playoff push. So, I mean, you break this trade down. For me, I think it's intriguing. I'm not like, I pulled the fan base after the trade. Who won the trade? Almost 500 votes. 75% of people say Connie just fucking cooked on this. 17% say it was a W. 2.3 say it was a loss. 6.2 say even Steven. So hands down, most people think Connie absolutely did a hell of a job on this. But like I said, we talked about this on the last podcast when we were talking about Flames first, right? Who gives a fuck about Team Canada and Connor McNickbeard? Whatever. I don't really know too much about Frost and Farabee. I recognize the name Farabee. Obviously they play in the East. They play in Philly. You don't see these guys very often. It's going to take some time to really see what we actually do have coming back. And again, sometimes there's a fit and sometimes there's an adjustment period. Like I said, the Huberdeau fucking thing, right? So Huberdeau has helped me curb my enthusiasm on what to expect trades, with these guys. But, my first initial thought and reaction on this is I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued because I feel like Connie has made us better now. We're better right now. The thing with Pelletier is, all good vibes aside, him as a player, to me, there's still a question mark on what he will turn into. There's some, obviously, if you're looking at the beginning of the season, parts of you as a fan, you're frustrated because, he's a first rounder. Why is he still not getting games and this and that? And then eventually he starts getting games and starts to see some progression, development happening. So when this is all said and done, Pelletier might be the best player out of all 5 of these guys, the second round, pick included. You never know. You just don't know which way it's going to go. But given the fact that there's a big question mark there on Pelletier, then you're kind of breaking this down. You're like, yeah, you don't love to give up the third, or the second, but you still have a stockpile of draft picks. So it makes giving up that second, a little bit more easy to swallow. So at the end of the day, it's like it's hard to argue with the fact that Conrad won the trade, especially given the Flames' needs current and looking into the next couple of seasons. But it's still a grain of salt for me.
Yeah, I think you're looking at this through the lens of risk tolerance really,
Yeah.
more so than anything. And there's really very little downside to this. There's very little risk involved at all. You're kind of taking a swing at a guy in Farabee who signed for a while and Philly wanted to dump because of cap reasons. But like I said, if you look at him and say, well, he's already done in the league, kind of what you would hope a guy like Pelletier would turn into, right? A guy who can score 20 goals and 50 points and maybe has a little bit more to unlock with some better teammates in a better situation with more ice time.
He's dealing with Tortorella over there, and he's in Tortorella's bad books. We all know what happens to players in that situation.
So yeah, you really just look at it and it's really a no risk situation, pretty much at all for the Flames. And like the reason I like it because we've been talking about this a lot, and I've been kind of like negative about like, oh, the Flames are looking for something in the market and they're looking to make a move, and I've been like, just please stand pat. Like anything that happens from here on out is gravy. But like you said, this is more than just like a one bird with a stone type trade. He managed to hit a window opportunity here where Philly was probably looking to try to do something. They're entering a bit more of a rebuild cycle. And this opportunity opened up where he can get a player that he's been targeting at a position he's been targeting. He can modestly add to this team and give them a little bit of help without, sending anything super valuable. Like you said, a guy who's on waivers 2 months ago, could have had him for free, and address a long-term need of this team. So I like it from pretty much all angles. I think the most impressive part is that it's an opportunity buy. Like my big question is, okay, what comes next? I hope this doesn't signal like, okay, we're
wants
buying.
Rantanen. He wants
right?
Rantanen next.
Right? We're flooring it. We're putting gas, right? We're like you said, we kind of joked about like rebuild done. I don't think it's that. I think this is just more kind of the stars aligned in a way that he got what he wanted. He saw the opportunity, and that's been a strength of his as a GM for sure. I think, especially in the Lindholm trade. And when the opportunity arises, he doesn't hesitate. He doesn't dick around, really. So far on a lot of these trades, even with Sidorov, like he's dealing with these things in a pretty swift manner. So, you know what? I think it's a nice trade. I do have some concerns about, the future and whether or not the Flames are like, does this keep us mid? I know that's a concern, but I like the patience. I like Wade. I like rehabilitating the value of a little bit of value of Kuzmenko, of Pelletier, and basically adding two guys to your team that could be decent pieces moving forward for the next few years. So I like it from pretty much all angles, other than maybe a few nitpicks with, the overall direction. And I do have a bit of a nitpick with like, oh, like the players have earned an addition. But the fact this would be the addition, in that, like you said, two birds with one stone, where he's a long-term addition as well.
See, and I happen to love that because like you've seen it from day one with those behind the scenes videos. What do they call those again?
The chase they're doing?
The chase videos, yeah.
Yeah.
Day one, what Connie and Huska from the top down were communicating to this group, and their goal was to make the playoffs, and so it should be. If you're an NHL team, you still have some veterans in the lineup. Yeah, sure, you're kind of in a retool or rebuild situation, but you should still strive to be competitive and be at your best. And with Dustin Wolf in the mix now, it seems like almost anything could possibly be possible. But so that's why I love it, because these guys, they don't have a lot of skill, they don't have a lot of finishing ability on this roster, but man, they've worked their balls off all season long. They've worked their balls off to get into the situation they're in now. So I love the fact that Connie's like, I felt like I needed to reward these guys and give them something for this playoff push. They've earned it. And like you said, it's something small, but at least it's something.
Yeah, it's something small, and it's something probably not a lot of the other teams could do, because, if you think about players who are in this age range who get traded, it's usually you really have to overpay for these guys too. And that's the other part you love about this trade, is just the value of it, because when do mid kind of 20s guy, even if they're struggling like these guys are, like, you still generally kind of have to overpay to get these types of players. And not only do you not overpay, you used like spare parts and a few surplus things here and just kind of like strap together something that works for everybody. And like honestly, it feels like Craig, like with the Farabee edition, because it sounds like he was kind of like the add-on to this, where it's like, yeah, we'll do Pelletier for Farabee kind of add that to the deal. It feels like he's been weighing the same thing we're weighing, which is like, okay, like tank. It's like we're past the point where we're going to be getting that pick in the
It's
top
the Venn
10.
diagram.
Yeah, so it's like he's past that point. So he's like, well, why don't we just add and you know what? Try as hard as we can to actually get to the playoffs. He's having the same dialogue that we're having, where it's like, well, if we're going to suck, we really need to suck. But the reality is Dustin Wolf has completely changed this organization and completely changed the trajectory of this team this year. And now we are where we are and we can actually get there. So why not actually make a little bit of a push here? Like there's no downside, like, cause we're not picking top 10. So we're going to be giving that pick to Montreal. Let's make the playoffs at least. Let's fucking go, baby.
Well, and it seems that Connie may have, and Connie needs some serious credit because this guy seems like he's working his balls off.
Oh, yeah.
I think he does have the serial killer room that Brad Treliving obviously never actually did have, where you look at every single possible scenario, every single timeline. It's like the MCU where you got like all these overlapping timelines. Well, you got the Venn diagram. Well, it could be good this year. Like I just need a little bit of something. But there was a tweet. I think I might have sent it to you. To me, this sums it up perfectly. FX Reed K on Twitter. The difference between Craig and Brad is that Craig trades guys who are low value on down years instead of overpaying for guys having career years. And that to me is a brilliant, piece of work that Craig is doing here. Is the same thing with Kuzmenko last year, right? But the Farabee and the Frosting, the reason why it's so intriguing to me is these guys can have potential immediate upside to their game. They're likely caught in a situation in Philly where Connor can take advantage of the Flyers in this sense because their trade value is low right now. Yep. They're having a down season. But if you look at the reason why, a big part of it is most likely
usage,
not getting along with the coach. Well, as soon as you're in Tortorella's shithouse, man, I mean, you've seen it with similar with Darryl, but that can have a big impact. These guys, you can tell just in their interviews and some of the sound bites they've had, it's just like they're excited to be freed of that situation over there. They're probably going to be coming in here with a shitload of energy. They see that they're in a playoff race. They're probably just fucking jacked. If you look at some of their numbers and stats, it's just like, yeah, they might have some serious immediate upside that might help us score some goals over here.
Well, and it is one of those trades that, when we were talking about this a few weeks ago, like, hey, if they were to add, what would you be looking at doing? And I said, well, maybe there would be a situation that arises where you can take advantage of a team, similar to how Kuzmenko arrived here last year, where you're making another deal, but there's a cap dump element add-on that you can use to your advantage. And, really Philly just wanted to get out of Farabee's contract. It is what it is. He's making $5 million for the next 4 seasons, including this. So it is a bit of a risk, but that's the exact type of move, right, that you can jump on when you have the cap flexibility the Flames have that other teams can't jump on. And you know what, if Joel Farabee's making, like, maybe we'll talk about him as a player in a minute, but he's actually scored a lot of if you look at his numbers 5-on-5, he's scoring goals at a pretty excellent clip 5-on-5 the last 4 years. That's a guy, if he's making $2 million, $3 million, a lot of teams are probably like lining up to pay for and pay maybe not a premium, but a fair chunk for. And the Flames just pretty much got him as an add-on. It's like, yeah, like that's a nice risk we're going to be able to take because we can fit him into our cap because we have absolute shit ton of cap space. So there's another aspect of this trade that you really like is that the Flames just kind of set themselves up. I think that's ultimately what I like about it is the Flames set themselves. This wasn't a situation where it was like, well, we're in the playoff mix. I'm going to go out and like spend a second round pick on like a shitty forward or a shitty defenseman or go blow my load on some
pending
guy.
RFA. It's just a rental.
That's just kind of like whether it's a rental or maybe it's just like a guy who blocks another play, like, one of those kind of like tree living army of plugs move. Or like a big overpay. Made a big, huge splash. This was just something that, Craig created an opportunity for himself by that way he's managed the team and managed the assets in the past year and a half. And then as soon as that opportunity arose to get what he wanted, he took advantage of it. So it's just, it's a nice little piece of work, to be honest.
Bet365, the world's largest sports betting platform. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Download the app today, use code NATION when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365.
It's kind of sweet.
All right, let's get into Farabee here. I don't know. Is he the better of the two players? I think he is currently. Does Frost have more upside? I don't know. What's the scouting report on Frost? Who do you want to start with, Frost or Farabee?
Well, we can start with Frost maybe because I think
he's more of the target guy, right?
He's been the target positionally and probably skill set wise. This has been one of Conroy's main things since he took over GM is securing the center ice position, which like that's another thing. I think if you're in the mindset of me or like kind of maybe a bit disappointed in like wanting to tank to get centers, like Craig knows the importance of center icemen, right? And it's been an organizational weakness since Joe Nieuwendyk left. This team has been weak down the middle, and Craig knows he's a center himself. You think he didn't see that where it's like it's him, and then it's like who's behind him, like Stefan Yell, who was amazing, but that's like your next best center for 5-6 years.
Craig came from being a fourth line center to the first line center on the Flames.
Exactly. That's all you need to know. And he's been probably one of our best centers since. So I think he knows that center ice is the utmost important position in the NHL to create a championship team. So I take this as a win when he knows it, identifies it, and is starting to go and get some of these guys.
What speaks volumes to me about Craig, basically, like I said, this is a targeted guy. It goes back. There's some history. The Flames apparently wanted to get him in the offseason. They've been targeting this guy for a while, which means there's done a lot of scouting on him. For whatever reason, they think that he's going to fit the mold here in Calgary. He isn't on an expiring deal, but he is an RFA. It sounds like he's stoked to come to play in the Canadian market. I just watched his interview today. He looks pumped. He looks pumped to be getting a new opportunity. He's pumped. He's coming with Joel, his buddy. So I don't see re-signing him being an issue. But what's the scouting report? I mean, first round pick, 27th overall in 2017. He's played a lot of hockey. He's played 278 NHL games already. 50 goals scored, 135 points in that time. That's pretty decent for a younger player.
Yeah, I think, if you're looking at him as a player, kind of what jumps off the page immediately is I've heard this from Flyers fans and from people who watch the Flyers, is that he does have a lot of creativity and a lot of playmaking ability. It's just quite inconsistent. So it's like you'll see flashes of like, whoa, what was that? And then you'll watch for 10 more games and that kind of disappears a little bit. So he does have a lot of skill, pretty fast, but I think overall, like he's actually been a pretty good defensive centerman down the middle for Philly the last few years. His defensive impacts have been really, really strong. And I mean, I know there's some, his competition he's been sheltered a little bit for sure. If you kind of look at his quality of competition against, they've sheltered him and maybe he's lost trust of the coach. Maybe that's kind of part of it. Torts doesn't really trust him anymore. But just like
which doesn't really say a lot, to be honest.
Torts doesn't trust you.
Torts feels like you just have a weird dream and all of a sudden you're in a shithouse for a while. Now, Farabee obviously is a bit more of a recognizable name. Had a few more seasons. He's had 2 20-goal seasons. 14th overall pick, another first-round pick. So you get 2 first-round picks back. Frost a little bit later, but I don't know. This one's intriguing to me as well.
Yeah.
He's we're looking at 6. This is his 6th NHL season. Yeah, 6th NHL season. Almost 400 games played already. 90 goals, 200 points. So he's more than half a point per game player. Obviously, I recognize the name. Apparently, the scouting report on this guy he likes to muck it up. He
fought Corey Perry a few months. I like that.
Hey, fight Corey Perry as wearing it with his jersey. You're all right in my books.
Yeah.
What's kind of like your overall scouting report on Farabee?
I've heard he's a really great, dangerous player off the rush. That's where he creates most of his offense. Somebody who can, score off the rush, which Huberdeau has been like. That's kind of been all we've hearing is like that's why Huberdeau sucked here. He's never had anybody who he can set up on the rush with. So if they can come together and he can be like a top 6 goal scoring threat every night, and he's making $5 million a year for the next handful of years. Like, the cap thing is a risk, but it also could be a great reward if he starts outperforming that really soon with the impending cap increase. He does have a lot of skill, man. He does probably have a lot of underrated skill. I pulled some numbers. I was just looking at some stuff for context last night. Funnily enough, if you don't include this year, he had this exact same amount of 5-on-5 points over the previous 3 seasons as Elias Lindholm, which is pretty crazy, considering where everybody was at with Lindholm up until last year. But over the past 3 seasons, Farabee has 89 5-on-5 points. If you compare that to all the Flames players, that would be second amongst current Flame players amongst that time span. So Kadri would have 99. Farabee has 89. Coleman has 88. Huberdeau has 81. Frost would actually be 5th on that list with 79. So you're adding the 2 guys you're adding would have been 2 of your highest 5-on-5 scoring players over the past 3 years. And he actually has 39 5-on-5 goals over that time span as well, which would lead all Flames skaters current on the team and would only be behind Tyler Toffoli, who has 50 over the last 3 years in terms of players who have actually passed through Calgary. Only Owen Tippett and Travis Konechny have more 5-on-5 points on the Flyers over the past 3 seasons. So, like, when you look into it, he's like, this could be a case of a guy who kind of maybe has been underutilized as to scoring a lot at 5-on-5.
Anything else from the Conroy presser did you want to get to? I know you had some good notes on there. One of the things I liked is he's already talked to these players, already talked about their role. Conroy is just good with people.
Yeah.
Good people person. The fact, it's just like, if Brad made this trade and Brad's like, yeah, I talked to him already, it's just, oh my God, what the hell did you tell him, Brad? Whereas when Connie's like, yeah, talk to him, told him what the role is going to be. They're gearing up for lots of ice time. They're both excited. You know that Conroy is the guy you want, the first voice in these guys' ears, talking about the organization and selling them on this place and their roles here as a Flame. Anything else from the Conroy presser? Fuck, he was so dialed in, dude.
Dude, he's just fucking dialed. Like, you see it. And we when he was hired, we kind of had this idea in our head, right? Of this, like, oh, nice guy. Like, I'll bend over. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. Look at me. And dude, he hasn't been that at all. Like, he's been a hard negotiator.
Dude, he just dealt fucking the
fan favorite, everybody's best friend, and he just like
kissing everybody. He's just
kissing everybody, crying in the dressing room, and he's just like, sorry, had to do what I had to do. He squeezed Tom Fitzgerald's balls in the Markstrom trade till he got what he wanted. Like, he's actually like quite the negotiator, right? And you imagine like Danny Briер's just sitting there. And it's just like Conroy probably just talked to him all fucking day to finally get fair. He's just like, holy shit, fine, I'll take Kuzmenko. Leave me alone, bro. Just take him. I don't. Hangs up the phone. He's just exhausted after a long day. Conroy's just like,
Conroy can out talk anybody. Intriguing time. We'll see how it plays out. You want to make one more point?
Oh, I just want to say, like, Jakob Pelletier, man. And you know what? Kuzi too, right? Let's just give these guys some props. Kuzi waved to come here when the Lindholm deal happened. That deal doesn't happen if he doesn't agree to it. That's like a franchise altering trade, really.
100%.
And it doesn't happen if Kuzi's not a good guy, doesn't agree to come here. He was fucking great when he was here.
Yep.
I'm really gonna miss anything they do social media wise with him.
It's very interesting. This trade is very interesting for him.
It is very big. I love this trade. I love not to live in Calgary anymore. It's 11 degrees in Philadelphia. And he also obviously waved to go to Philly, right? So he did us a solid twice. He's a stand-up dude. He's a fucking beauty. We love the guy. And Jakob Pelletier, like, come on, man.
Yep.
His Instagram, like, dude, you read his Instagram farewell post. Like, all the guys are broken up too. Like Zeri, Huberdeau, everyone's posting. Yep. His Instagram post enough was like, "Okay, we won the trade, but was it worth it? Was it worth it?" He's a great guy. He mentioned Chris Snow in his little goodbye, so he's a great guy. I hope he absolutely fucking kills it in Philadelphia.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.